This week on the Steam Machine Podcast, we climb a mountain of self-discovery. Before we take a stop off at Mr. Puzzle's Pleasure Palace, cue the music!
The storm.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me as always, the Destructober.
What up everybody, it's Nate.
Yo, what's good, Dalton? It's Willie. Before we get into this episode, I'd just like to go ahead and say, up front, up top, this game does address very explicitly some themes of mental health, and also there are a couple of things involved with the development of the game that involve, like, gender identity-related issues. So, like, if you can pretend to be adults for those parts, we'll get back to the pee-pee and poo-poo jokes and we can all be kids again. Thank you, fans.
And this week we have a guest.
What up? Mr. Puzzle's in the house.
Yes. And
Yeah. Did you bring us a game this week?
I did not bring a game this week. It's been a shitty couple of weeks on
That's
my end.
fair.
So my apologies. I didn't mean to make you feel pressured.
Oh, you're good.
I'm just
I
happy to
might
have
be able
you.
to bullshit something. Give me 20 minutes.
We'll see.
well, you're welcome to the show. As always, my good sir. What has everybody been up to? I'm going to go reverse order this time. Red shirt, Nate. How you been, my good sir?
Yeah, it hasn't been too crazy. Like, the last couple weeks I've gone on that vacation, and then since then it's kind of just been getting back into routine and being pretty chill. So I guess the main things that kind of gone on, there was like a big ass storm that came through town and like dropped tornadoes really close by and everything. But like the thing that really stuck to me is like this storm left the biggest hail that I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, I've always heard of, like, golf ball-sized hail. I'm like, sure it was. This was literally golf ball-sized hail. Like, I have a picture of me holding this in my hand, and my hand is very large. And, like, this piece of hail is, like, that big in my hand. And I'm just like, good lord. And it somehow, like, came out of it, and the cars weren't dented or anything. But it was just like...
Oh, thank goodness.
I know. I was like, I'm going to have a shattered windshield, dents all over the bed of my truck, and all that kind of stuff. But went out there, and everything was okay. So, pretty thankful for all of that.
I wonder...
Dear listener, when Nate was holding up that little sign to show how big the hail was, it would have been a golf ball-sized hail in my hand, and I think Nate's are a little bit bigger than mine, so pretty big piece of shit there.
Now, imagine you work for Safe Flight, and you're sitting at home, and that starts, and you're just like, oh god, tomorrow's going to be a busy day.
Safe flight repair, safe flight replace.
Safe Flight replace.
Replace.
But other than that, man, it was pretty chill, pretty good time. So, like, just working on, it's spring going into summer, so I'm just working on getting yard maintenance done. I have literally nothing exciting to talk about this week. So I will let it pass on to the next person.
This bitch literally was like, so weather happened, and then I raked the lawn.
Pretty much.
And honestly... That's me too. I did fucking... I'm just going to go ahead and jump the queue and say I didn't do anything interesting. I've been getting some more exercise in. I've been, playing my pinball games and stuff. I got very little to talk about. Nothing interesting is completed.
And it sounds like Dalton's going to have a lot to talk about this week anyway, so I'm okay with us being a little bit shallow on our ends.
I have been fucking with Godot more. Brackies came back and did a Godot tutorial, and I've finished about half of that, and then he's got a second tutorial up now for GD script, so I need to do that one too. But I don't have a full game to show anyone yet. I'm having fun with it though.
You should make a game.
Don't do the Gal Gadot joke again, or I will literally strangle you.
Called Gal. And you can make its last name Ugga. Right? So
Galaga.
Ugga.
Okay. You're back in my good graces for now. You're on fucking notice, though, bitch.
You're on thin ice, Dalton.
Oh, man. That's Superman.
Wonderful woman.
So yes. Deadpool. Hey. Dane. I know you said it's been a rough few weeks, but do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
I won't get into the terrible details of it, but I mentioned it on Discord. My cousin passed away. I guess it's been about a month back now.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Had his funeral a couple weeks ago. Yeah, thank you. Went into the wake and I got surprise pallbearer duty. Wasn't expecting that one. But, caught us off guard. He was actually supposed to be visiting me the next week. So I was going to be seeing him in just a couple of days when he had his accident and died.
Jesus.
So
that's a fucking shame, dude.
43.
Damn.
Oof. Condolences, my good sir.
But on a lighter note, mostly been busy, trying to keep busy anyway. I know I've mentioned it before, I do homeschool for the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last week, we took her to Old Salem, which is a local thing about an hour away from here at the house, where they still do things like, olden times, making everything by hand. Women have to cover their heads and, all that sort of thing.
They hang witches?
Yeah, back in the good old days. I don't know if they had any witch hangings or not.
I was just
But, got to take her around and different Salem. This is North Carolina.
That's like the third most important Salem in the country.
The second being a cat from a TV show.
Truth.
But she really got a kick out of that, seeing them hand-making guns in there, which they actually do everything legit, start to finish, and then sell it.
That sounds fucking
That's
rad
awesome.
to see.
Hell yeah.
Doing pottery old school, where she's having to kick the damn wheel to keep the thing spinning, firing it in wood stoves. That was fun. First time that we had a really hot day down here, and my dumb ass is hiking uphill both ways somehow. I'm a dad now, I get to claim that one. But that was a pretty fun day. But besides that, it's just been a lot of running back and forth, dealing with fun stuff, dealing with mostly unfun stuff, trying to get things took care of. But other than that, not a whole lot interesting. Played a game.
Played a game?
But we'll get to
you're a
that later.
gamer?
What a weirdo.
Yeah, go figure. You can't tell it by my golf score and how it's been stagnant for a month. But I still play games.
Check into the Discord, and we have a game called what's it called? It's
Backlog Golf.
Backlog Golf. Backlog Golf, where every time you buy a game, you gain a point. Every time you beat a game, you lose a point. It's a little more complicated than that, but not much, and a lot of people are having fun. I'm not playing, but a lot of the others are, including both Nathan and Dalton and Dane. So check it out.
I'm literally shocked that I'm at a negative score.
Me too. It's very unlike you.
I need to add a few numbers to mine and then minus a couple. But there's some math I need to do because I haven't been keeping up with it. But yeah, it's been fun for the most part. Shout out and also a big fuck you to Jeremy, who has been just playing shit on Game Pass. So he's racking up no pluses while just steady racking in minuses.
Yeah,
the fucker.
Hey, that's a high IQ play. Can't fault the guy for using his brain.
Some of my negative is definitely from playing some short games on my Epic library that I got for free, so I can completely relate.
I'm not going to lie. I got a -2 for a game that took me 2.5 minutes to beat.
Which game was that? Do I have it?
It's free. It's on Steam. I'll tell it to everybody. Everybody can go get a free +2. Or Adam can say, Dalton, fuck you. Add those 2 back to your score. The game is, I think, called Holy Poop. And in order to get a 100% achievement in that game, you have to click the piece of poop 100 times. You get an achievement for every click. So there's 100 achievements for that game. And you get 100 achievements just sitting there clicking. I was clicking and it was just going ding, ding,
That's funny.
ding. Oh, dude, it was hilarious. And I was like, I'm counting that. I just wasted 2 minutes of my life. I'm counting that.
I don't blame you. But that does
Yeah,
make your plus 6 even less impressive.
Yeah. Oh, I told you at the beginning of this, that, you know what? I want to be the one who has the highest plus.
Yeah. I just haven't been buying games this year for some reason. Just, I'm not upset about it. I've been...
all the ones that keep catching me are GOG sales, and I grab old games. Because I have this weird thing in my head where I know one day I'm not going to be able to buy any games anymore because I'm going to have more responsibilities and things. And so I grab these games that I see when they're on sale, especially on GOG, these old games, and I was like, oh, this, I don't know, The Settlers 3 is on sale for 50 cents. Oh, God damn it. Here, take 2 quarters. Plus 1. And then, you take that and you're like, oh, well, you spend $12, but everything's 49 cents to $1. And all of a sudden that golf score is oh, I need to put plus 11 or whatever. It's fuck. But I just like building up the GOG collection because I know those will always be there. If something happens to my Steam account, it is what it is. All those will be gone. I'm out whatever thousands of dollars I've spent there. But my GOG games, those are forever as long as technology stays around. So,
GOG never changes.
Good old games. You guys remember the good old games? Back when you had to configure DOSBox. No, actually, I guess it would have just been DOS.
Not DOSBox, fucking autoexec.bat and config.sys. That shit. Ugh.
So, I guess that just leaves me. So here's where most of my talking in the episode is going to happen. And I will get to why at the end of this.
Because he's a bitch.
So, we need to flash back to the last time we recorded. We had a good, fun episode.
I had a great time.
The next day I edited it, I uploaded it, all was gravy. I went to sleep that night, woke up the next day.
Not all was gravy, my audio sucked. Sorry about that, everybody.
Oh yeah, Willie sounded like he phoned that one in, but we promise he didn't.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened. We messed with stuff before this, and hopefully it won't sound like that this episode.
But it was kind of cool, though. It sounded like we were like a radio show, and we just had a really long caller.
Yeah. That's what they call me, baby, the long caller.
That was his nickname in high school. So episode got uploaded. I went to sleep that night. I'm like, all right. So the next day they had me going to somewhere I had never been before. I'm like, that's fine. So I ride out to this Walmart and I start working. Well, as I'm working on the aisle, I kind of tweak my back a little bit. And I'm like, oh, that didn't feel good. But wasn't the first time that's happened, so I just kind of started taking it easy. Oh, pardon me. So, and here's the part that I laugh at. I have to take a shit. So I hit the bathroom, and as I'm going to sit down on the toilet, I'm leaned over, pulling my pants down, doing the sitting motion, and I cough. And that quick force or whatever, while I was in that position, threw the rest of my back out. Right.
Ooh.
So I'm now sitting on the toilet with a stinging pain going down my right leg. And I'm like, fuck. But first thing that pops into my head is I really don't want to take a piss test for being hurt. Right. So I'll just power through it. So with the stinging pain, if anybody's got sciatica or anything like that, or you've ever had your back go out, you know how much that shit hurts. I just went out there and kept working. So I worked the rest of the day, an 8-hour shift, just in searing pain. Right. Played it off though, like no selling it to the guy I was working with until I went off on my own. Then I was limping, but it is what it is. So I woke up the next day, Saturday, could barely it took me like 10 minutes to sit up in my bed without like wanting to cry. Right. So I made my way over to my work phone and I told my supervisor, hey man, threw my back out yesterday. So I think I'm going to take the day off to ice it and stretch and stuff, but I'll be good by tomorrow. It's not the first time this has happened to me. And he writes back, so you're not coming in. I wrote back. What I wanted to write back was, what the fuck did I just say? But I was just like, no, I'm hurting, so I'm going to stay home and ice it today. I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow, regardless. 10-4, feel better. All right, sir. Will do. So I go back to sleep and I wake up still in pain, limping around, and I get an email. Like when everybody gets their thing about what they're doing the next day, I get an email. Hey, meet me tomorrow at Care Spot. I'm like, what the fuck is Care Spot? So I look it up. It's like a little walk-in emergency medical place. All right. So they want me to go get checked out and stuff. They probably think I'm going to try to get workman's comp. All right. So we go. And here's the part that was weird to me. We're outside of a medical facility. We get there an hour before they open. And my supervisor tells me to get into his car. So I get into his car. And we call up a nurse hotline and have them diagnose me over the phone from what I am describing to them as to what happened and stuff while sitting in the parking lot for this medical center. So again, I am like uber confused at this time, but I tell the dude on the phone. He giggles because I hurt my back to going to take a shit. I left out that I had heard it working because I'm trying to avoid the whole piss test and workman's comp. I'm trying to avoid all that, right? So I'm playing it off like, oh yeah, it's what it is. So we hang up after I'm done. The nurse, the person on the phone, is like, oh well, if you've been, you say you feel fine, which I was hurting, but I said I feel fine. Like I said, just playing it off. And I'm like, they're like, you've been stretching and doing it yourself. Then we're just going to tell you to keep doing that. You should be fine. Take some over the counter painkillers. You'll be all right. We're not going to give you light work or tell you not to work or anything. You're good to go back to work. Okay, cool. So we hang up. And I'm like, all right, so am I good to go? And my supervisor says, no, we got to wait till this place opens. You got to go in there and take a piss test. All right. Well, my brain goes, well, I took a piss test when I got hired. And I asked the lady when I was doing my piss test, like, do I need to show you my medical marijuana card? And I pulled it out and showed it to her. And she said, no, they'll call you if you fail. And then you tell them on the phone. I think we talked about this on the show back when that happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is going to be another situation like that. So we go in there and we're having to wait. We waited like 20 minutes to go back there. It wasn't a huge deal. My supervisor's flipping out like, geez, this is taking so fucking long for. And he goes up to the lady and he's like, do you know about how long it's going to be? And I'm thinking to myself, like, shut the fuck up and sit down. Just chill. Like, what else do you have to go do? Put some shit on the shelf? You're good. It's all good. I go back there. I take the piss test. I asked the girl if she needs to see my medical card. She says, no, they'll call you. Same situation as last time. I'm like, all right. So we leave. I go back to work. I work till Tuesday. I get off Tuesday. I'm now on vacation. So I chill a few days. Then I went and spent a few days in St. Augustine. Now I have some stories from that I'd like to regale before we get into the bullshit that happened after the fact.
Hell yeah, I'm very happy to hear some St. Augustine stories because both of you two visited St. Augie in very similar times.
So I found a really good place that is on that little strip of all the shit that's in St. Augustine, the little old King Street strip. It's called Augie's Draft Room, right? It is a little expensive, as everything is around in that area. But, dude, I sent you guys pictures of the burger and the beer that I got there.
Oh, yeah.
I got the ultimate bacon burger, which came with bacon and then a bacon jam on it and then cheese and stuff. It was a little double burger. And then came with bacon cheddar fries. And, man, we went there twice. It was so good. It was so good, man, that place. Like, I'm going to be going back there. I was impressed. And I liked that, like, so that all of their draft beers were just on the wall, like by where you would sit. And they give you this little white card that looks like a debit card, but with nothing on it. And you use that, and you go up and you put it in the little sensor, and you pour your beer. And your beer charges by the ounce. But it tells you, like, this beer is 49 cents per ounce or whatever. And then you pour your beer, and it tells you the total. And it keeps track of it on that little card. And when you go to leave, you just give them that card, and they're like, all right, well, your total is boom. And then you pay the tab, and off you go. I only had one beer. Like, that's just... I'm always like I don't know. I don't get drunk in public. That's just not a thing I like to do. So I just had my Guinness with my burger and stuff. It was fantastic. Also, shout out to the place on that strip that does taffy. It's the best taffy I've ever had. It's nice and soft. It doesn't pull your teeth, but they have a variety of flavors. I recommend the Try 'em All box. Delicious. So I went to the fort. Fort was super cool. I hadn't been there since I was a little kid. So exploring that and taking pictures and just thinking about the history that has happened in that fucking structure blows my mind. You're looking at these walls with these carvings of these soldiers that were there, and it's like the name of the soldier and then like 1887, and that's when that was carved there. It's still, it's just the history of it just boggles me, right? And seeing like some of the ways that they lived back then. Like I took a ton of pictures, but I didn't want to bombard the Discord with them until I told the story and stuff, and maybe I'll make a little its own little thing, so I can just throw all the pictures in there. If people want to go look at them, they can. Channel is the word I was looking for. But just the history of the town. You look around and there are a lot of buildings made out of coquina and stuff like that. It's just super cool. The one thing, and I know Nate walked away, so he's gonna miss this, but we went to the Leitner Museum. Me and the person I was with. The Leitner Museum is a collection owned by this dude whose name I think was like Oleander Leitner or something like that. I think it was like O. Leitner. Anyway, they have a memorial of him out in the front. But everything in this museum was part of his collection. And when we got our tickets and we went over to the lady who handed us a map, she explained the map to us, and she said, "And there's one thing to remember while you're here. This is all one man's collection, and none of it makes sense. Enjoy." All right. So we started walking around in there, and literally none of it makes sense. Like, you're like, why would he own this? But at the same time, me being the eccentric weirdo that I am, I'm like, I would love to have a house full of weird shit like this. Like, he's got Dwight Eisenhower's lion. I just, yeah, weird, but it's this fucking lion. There is, in this section of the museum, there is a little plinth, I guess you would, a little stand with a mummified Egyptian child wearing an Egyptian burial mask, right? And it's legit. It's real. Like, this is a corpse. And I'm looking at it, and it's so well preserved, and it's wild to me. And fun fact, when I did the ghost tour, which I'll get to in a second, but the girl told me she used to work there, and she told me that a lot of stuff in that museum they took away from being able to view shrunken heads and things like that because they're not culturally acceptable. These days, people look at that kind of stuff a little bit weirder, right? So all of that's upstairs where you can't go. But that particular display with the child mummy is built, like the thing they built it on and all of that is like brittle. So it's like if you tried to move it, it would just collapse and possibly destroy the specimen. So they're just like, we can't touch it. So it's just in its little section by itself. And there is a thing on it.
This is a load-bearing baby mummy.
There is a sign on it that says, "Please no photography or video." And I wonder, I have to think that's just a respect of the dead thing, because it's like an actual dead person,
Well, either that or flash photography does kind of degrade some kind of art too. So, like, you see that in some places. So, could be either.
No flash is a common thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Nate flashed us just now. He has really nice titties. Thank you,
So, Nate, I'm glad you got back for the good part. So, we go up to the third floor. Oh, man, my throat is not being my friend tonight. The lady said, start on the third floor, make your way down, right? Okay. So we went up to the third floor. Third floor was a traveling art museum. So it's like an art exhibit. I mean, yeah, not museum, exhibit. With painters from, I believe it was like Norway, Portugal, Jesus Christ, Poland, like that area, right? Dutch Renaissance paint, like that kind of thing. So me and Diana are walking around, and it is like you could hear a pin drop in this museum, right? You can hear like little murmurs of people talking, like this old couple were talking about this painting they were looking at. And we're looking at this painting, and like to our left is this old couple, and then it's me and her looking at this painting right here, and then to our right is just this old guy by himself kind of walking around, just meandering, looking at the paintings. And it is so quiet. And all of a sudden, the old man on the right let out a ripper of a bubbler of a fart. Right. And I mean, it reverberated throughout this exhibit. And the old people on the left said nothing. It's completely normal to them. Me and Diane, I am immediately biting my tongue till I can almost taste blood, right? I am like, I cannot laugh right now. I cannot laugh right now. And I look over at Diana, and she makes eye contact with me, and she starts cracking up and has to put her hands over her face. And I am like, fuck you, I am not selling this. I'm trying to do my best Undertaker, right? Just not selling anything. So I'm like trying to casually walk away. And every time I'd look at Diana, she'd just start cracking up. And I'm like, stop it. It was one of the highlights of the trip because it was so funny. I was like, you ever, like, you can't laugh, but you're sitting there and you're in tears because you're crying from holding back because it's just so, oh my God, bro. It was absolutely hysterical, right? So then later on that night, we ended up doing the ghost tour around St. Augustine, and shout out to, I think it was Ghost City Tours that did it. It's called the Telling Elegies trip, and our guide was Kylie. So shout out to Kylie. If you ever go and she's doing it, I recommend checking it out.
What's up, Kylie? Shout out.
Interesting history in St. Augustine for sure. Did you guys know that there was a saint there that blew up?
I'm sorry, he did what?
He blew up. So long story short, he was beloved by everybody. St. Augustine, right?
Imagine.
Yeah. And he died. And he had people who loved him from all over the country, and they wanted to give them time to be able to come down to be here for his funeral. So they constructed what they thought was a brilliant idea. It's this big metal box, and they put him in there and they sealed it. And then they buried him like 10 feet underground at the local cemetery, Vitalomato Cemetery. So the time goes by. They go, everyone's get into the church, and like everyone around town is trying to pack in. Like this is like people are spilling out into the street. There's so many people there. They bring the guy in. They get the box out. They're carrying it down the long walk in the blistering St. Augustine heat sun of summer. And they bring him into the church and they set him in there. And they're doing the sermon and everything, and the casket that he's in starts to rattle. And suddenly everyone comes rushing up, and even more people are packing into the church because they want to see what this miracle, like they think that this guy that they love is coming back to life, right? Before their eyes. What they don't realize is science is happening. And that is a sealed metal box, and the body is decomposing inside and creating gas, right?
Oh.
So, yes, Willie. Yes, exactly. So eventually,
He became more fragile than a baby mama.
the lid of this thing, yes, bitch. The lid of this thing blows off. The corpse explodes and covers everyone. So everyone loved this guy, and they are now covered in bits of him. Now, here's the fucked up part. The intricacy of the way that churches are made back then. There's so much crazy, the carvings and stuff, that it was impossible to get all of him out. So there are parts of this Pope from hundreds of years ago that are literally rotted into the walls and then just baked there. So people say that, like, yeah, he still hangs around.
Yeah, imagine so.
I think that actually makes the church like a class 2 relic under Catholic law.
And then she said too that in the spiritual world, they say that your soul is sometimes likely to get stuck into things, like when you die in a house, they say to have the doors and the windows open. That way your soul can get out, right? And she said the problem with that in St. Augustine is that people believe that coquina, because coquina is made from shell compacted and it absorbs water and things like that, it's much more absorbent, and that comes to souls as well. So she said if you die in St. Augustine, congratulations, you're pretty much fucked and stuck here, because there are so many buildings made of coquina and walls just made of coquina that it's like, oh yeah, well you're pretty much gonna, if you die in St. Augustine, you're stuck here. So other fun fact, she says that the Flagler College and stuff is haunted because of Henry Flagler. Now, one thing I didn't realize until I went on this tour is that Henry Flagler, huge piece of shit. Huge piece of shit. Who would have thought that the second richest man in the world at one point would have been a massive dillweed, right? But he
Crazy,
was.
right?
And while I'm talking about this, there's something I need to pull up and show you guys, but to keep talking. So he went and wanted to build this actually, it was a hotel at the time. And he wanted to build it, but the level, they're so close to the water, it wasn't level and everything. So he was like, fuck that, I'll pay to bring land in to fill it up. Well, what he didn't tell everyone was that he was getting the land from this local area that used to be a fort. It was Fort, and it started with an M. Maues, something like that. It was another fort where there had been battles and it had been destroyed, right? So there were like bodies and stuff in this earth. And Henry Flagler just went out there and dug it all up and brought it, like pieces of building, pieces of fort, bodies, bones, all of it, and just dumped it where he needed it to be, and then built his hotels on top of it. So where the Leitner Museum is and where the Flagler College is, all of that underneath that is just a burial ground that was dug up and then moved and then put there and built on top of. So she said that like there's a lot of weird shit that happens in Flagler College that they just chalk up to, oh yeah, he just, it's a spirit from one of those. They said that literally that you'll go to sleep and your door will be locked. And they said that like one girl said she set up a camera, or she was telling this of one of her friends or whatever, set up a camera and couldn't see anything, but she woke up the next day and there was just a little figurine at the base of her bed. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? There's also a room because he had a wife who he ended up locking in a psychomantium, which is for those that don't know, a room full of mirrors where you don't actually see your own reflection in any of the mirrors, the way that they're set up, and it's supposed to be to commune with spirits. He ended up locking her in there. She became a heroin addict, thinking that he would save her, and he didn't, so she hung herself in there. So anyway, to tell you, this is what I'm coming around to with the Henry Flagler stuff. He died and wanted to be his funeral to be in the hotel, and he wanted the doors and the windows to be open so he would not be stuck here. Well, some of the house cleaning people were walking around and saw that they were having his funeral with all his friends and family, and no one had alerted them of this windows and doors opening, and they thought it was disrespectful that all this stuff was open, so they went around and shut them all. And they said that when the last one shut, his casket rattled one time, and they said that he tried to jump out and hit the door because there is a tile, and I'm going to post it in the recording chat right now. There is a tile that has a face on it. And that is the only tile around in the entire building that has a face on it like that. So they say that he got stuck in that tile. And when you go to school there, one of the things that you do is you go out of your way to step on that tile. And they said you don't stamp on it. You don't want to break it and release him. But he is stuck there forever to be walked on by people because of all the people that he walked on to get to where he was. And I was like, fucking poetic ending.
Eat the rich,
fuck
baby.
that guy. So I was just like, man, that's cool. And then the last story was about two lovers in the fort, which I won't get into that one. That one's just sad. But yeah, I was like, well, that's wild. But you can go into the college and kind of just like go walk around in the little area where that's at. It's like right in the opening center. And yeah, so if anybody's in St. Augustine, you can go see this haunted tile. I'm going to post it in out of context right now, so that people tonight and tomorrow will be like, what in the fuck is that, until they listen to the episode. So anyway, had a great time on vacation, dude. Like, probably spent more money than I should have, but you know what? I was like, fuck it, I'm on vacation.
Yep.
I'll make more. So, came back from vacation, went back to work on Friday, worked a full day Friday, woke up on Saturday, got dressed, started heading to work. So the Walmart that I needed to go to Saturday was about 40 minutes away. So I'm 35 minutes into the drive. I'm like 5 minutes away. My phone rings and it's my supervisor calling me. So I got to back out of Google Maps, because if I open, for some reason, I don't know if this does this with y'all's phone. If I open a phone call while Google Maps is open, I cannot hear the person talking. I don't know why. At least this was the way it was on my work phone. So I close out of Google Maps. I call them back. Hey, good morning, sir. What can I do for you? And this is exactly how the conversation goes. What can I do for you? Don't clock in. What was that? Don't clock in. Oh, all right. What's going on? Is there like a meeting or something this morning before we all clock in? You've been terminated. Oh, word? Yeah, I just got the notification this morning. Well, all right then. What do I need to do with my work phone and stuff? I need you to just take your work phone and your badge and mail them to the home office. That way it'll save you the drive to Jacksonville. Well, all right, sir. Sounds good. Sorry about this. Nah, it's all good, man. Things happen. All right. Bye. Goodbye. And like that, like this motherfucker couldn't have called me while I was still at home.
Right.
Like that, I had to turn around and drive another 35 minutes back home, wasting gas. And I just laughed. I was just like laughing out loud on the way home. And I was half relieved and half like, fuck. Right? Because I'm not going to lie to you. Sitting here today, my back still fucking hurts. Right? Like, and I don't know. But so your boy is currently out of a job. So if you want to join the patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast, that'd be really helpful right now. I would much appreciate that. So it's just been since then, figuring out what the fuck I'm going to do, looking online, applying to places, trying to avoid things that I don't want to do because I know they'll be strenuous, but you know, if it comes to it, I'll do whatever I got to make some money. So, but yeah, that's what's been going on with me. It's been definitely, it was a nice high, and it's like every time I finally like get things going good, something happens that just knocks me back to reality. And this was my knock back to reality. So onward and upward.
Gravity.
Onward and upward. So
That's shitty, man.
Speaking of highs and lows and climbing mountains and falling off things.
Wow, that was an incredibly smooth transition. Props to that one.
Thank you, sir. I would like to talk about some obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. I'm sure there's other things on my trip that I'm forgetting. I'll talk about them in subsequent weeks when they come up.
Hell yeah.
I'm just glad I got the fart story in, because that was the one. It's funny as fuck. Oh my
Very
God.
necessary.
One of the funniest
Very
things.
important. I'm so glad you got around to that.
Tremendous.
Because you didn't tell me about that before now, and it was very
Yeah,
good.
I've been holding that one to the chest. I'm like, no, dude.
He's been holding that
this
one
is for
in.
the show. Yeah, I've been holding it in. Like, I go ahead and fart. Like that guy should have.
He's been eating all them friholies, and he's holding it in.
I did tell.
Did I say holding?
So Diana told Jeremy, because I was hanging out with Diana, who is Jeremy's girlfriend. She came down to visit her like cousin, and then like come hang out with me, so I could show her St. Augustine. That way, when they come back, she knows where they're going. She can show him all the cool spots and stuff, because they're coming back in the end of June or something like that. So anyway,
oh, that's rad. Yeah.
Jeremy tells me, I heard the fart story. LOL. and I told him, I said, bro, I tried so hard not to laugh. He goes, bro, I just said, hell yeah, brother, just out loud. And I can totally picture just a fart, and then hearing Jeremy, hell yeah, brother. I didn't want to embarrass the guy by acknowledging it, you know. Fucking hell, though. Okay, so anyway, O-dubs, obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. We played Celeste. I guess I should clarify. Yeah, so Celeste, or Celeste.
Shut up. Fuck you.
That was for Nate. That was before we started recording. Celeste is a...
do you like to play Celeste?
Celeste is a 2018 platform game developed and published by indie studio Maddie Makes Games. The player controls Madeline, a young woman with anxiety and depression who aims to climb Celeste Mountain. During her climb, she encounters several characters, including Part of You, also known as Battleline, a personification of herself.
Battleline?
That's what it says here, Battleline.
You didn't know that?
I don't think I heard the term Battleline. It wasn't in the game. That's really cute. I love that.
I think it might be a fan thing.
Okay, it's
I don't know
a
if
good
it's official.
It's like a gothy looking, like, with twisted Madeline. She's great.
Battleline is a personification of her self-doubt who attempts to stop her from climbing the mountain. And then the only other thing I really want to read on this is, since its release, Celeste has garnered a dedicated fandom and active speedrunning and modding community. On September 9th, 2019, a free downloadable content expansion named Farewell was released, introducing a new chapter to the game. The development team has stated they do not intend to create a sequel for the main game. However, they have released a sequel to the original Pico 8 version titled Celeste 2 Lonnie's Trek as a part of the game's 3rd anniversary. 3 years later, they released a short 3-dimensional sequel to Celeste titled Celeste 64 Fragments of the Mountain.
I didn't know about Celeste 64. I wish I would have did better research. I did play Celeste Classic 2, but I didn't play Celeste 64.
I wonder if they'll do like, what is it, Celeste 63 and a half?
Clay Fighter 63 and 1/3.
Damn, that's right. That's what it was. 63 and a third.
I figured they were trying to riff on the same like Naked Gun 33 and a third thing.
Oh, Naked Gun.
It was way more clever than any joke in the actual game. I'm sorry, Clay Fighter fans, but I do not think your game is good or funny.
So, Celeste, first thoughts. I'm going to go first on this one. All right. So, after everything I just talked about and then getting canned, I had come home from my vacation being like, all right, I've got a week left to play some Celeste and really get into it. And then I came home and I played it for like a day or two. And then that happened. And I have had no desire to go back and play a frustrating game right now.
Yeah.
To be
That's
fair.
valid, dude.
But I did play a little bit today before we got up to before we got to recording, and I turned on some of the assist stuff just to see if I could get through to see some stuff. I did get.
Oh, that's neat. Let us know how that shit works, because I've never played with any of it.
So when you go to start the game, because I started over with the system mode on, it gives you a parameter of things that you would like to edit, like infinite dashes. You can turn on invincibility where you just don't die at all. I didn't do that. I did use infinite dashes, but I left it where if I hit spikes, I would die. And then just there was like a couple other things that were like a little more lenient. But for the most part, it was the two big ones were invincibility and the infinite dash. But I did get up to where I'll call her Battleline. I saw the introduction of Battleline in the mirror and stuff, and it unlocked the going through the jellies, I'll call it, because that's like what it looked like to me. It was like the psychedelic.
Yeah.
It just all of a sudden they turned into like spacey psychedelic Grateful Dead jelly, and you jump through them. And that's kind of where I kind of plateaued, and I was like, I do not know where to go from here. And then it was getting time to record, so I just exited out of it. But my first impressions, I will say, I love the graphic style. There's something about old school 8-bits that either hit or miss with me, and this one hit with me. I liked it. And I enjoyed the music, and I will say the main menu threw me off. When I got into the main menu and the game was starting up, I was not expecting to see 3D rendered things at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I thought this game was... And then we started the game, I was like, oh, okay. Okay, there it is. I was very confused. So those are my first thoughts. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out who should go next. So you in the genuineness shirt, go ahead.
Genuineness. Oh, first thoughts.
Yeah, do you have a
kinda
background with this game at all before we did the recording?
I'd played a little bit of it. I'd stuck it on my backlog list to play for golf, so it was something I was planning on knocking out anyway. So when I heard y'all were doing Celeste, I gave Dalton a holler. I was like, hey, mind if I join in with you? But when I'd played it before, I never actually made it past like the first chapter. I might have made it to the end of that. I remember the first time I played it, I got kind of Meat Boy vibes.
I can see that.
And so I was really excited to get back into it. It's not as tight as Meat Boy.
Tight is an interesting word, and I think one that'll come up a few times over this recording.
I mean, you get in the later stages, yeah, the platform is tight, and I know we get to that. But, like, the controls, for me, felt a little bit loosey-goosey compared to, like, the Celeste Classic that Willie was talking about earlier. That feels like Meat Boy, where took away, the intense speed and added in the boost. Like, I thought actually Classic felt more. I like the feel of the Classic Pico 8 one better than the actual regular game, but it definitely hits kind of a mood and it has that artistic feel. And I think that's probably what kind of generated that fan base getting into it. And then just the fact that the platforming amps up at such an intense rate as you go along is probably what kept people coming back. I mean, it's interesting, but as far as like my memories of that first playthrough, it just didn't really feel like it was holding up for me.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and do the first impressions next. For me, when I played this, the first time I played this was when it was fairly new, honestly, because I think I played this right after the first time I had played Hollow Knight, because I was on my big kick of getting into indie games, playing all these things that I'd missed for a long time without playing video games. Like, it's probably like 2018, 2019 at the latest when I actually played this one, I would say. I remember it was like, I really enjoyed the difficulty in the art style, and I attributed like any of like the loose controllers or whatever to the fact that I was playing on Nintendo Switch the first time I played this game. So we all know how Switch controllers act and feel. But no, I'd say my first impressions were like, I really did enjoy this game a lot, and I thought it was really, really good. And especially the first time I played it through, I thought it was a freaking fantastic game.
I'll go ahead and say that my first impression of the game was actually from the Pico 8 version. I'm not going to say like, oh, I played it before it was cool or whatever. I knew that there was a commercial game, but I played the Pico 8 game when I got my Pico 8 and like really enjoyed that. And then, you know, I did play Celeste Classic 2 also before playing this one. So like, I had some experience with the genre. I was wondering how it would translate into a full game that they were selling for money. And actually, I did really like them. Like, I was a little surprised that there were more than like 2 characters that spoke, because I was surprised that, like, you know, Celeste, god damn it, I just called her Celeste. I'm surprised that Zelda,
I was about to say Zelda, yeah.
Old Metroid here.
I think Metroid is a pretty cool guy.
Well, I have a quick question for you, Willie. The Pico 8 game, did that come out first? Was that developed by the same people?
Yes, and yes.
Okay, so that was something that they did, and then they fleshed it out into an actual release. Okay.
Right, yeah, it's basically the most popular Pico 8 game. It came out in like 2017 or something like that, and then they spent a couple years developing it into a much bigger game.
It's kind of like, oh my goodness, what was the name of that RPG that they made, but it was like actually a Sega Genesis game that they made, and they made it for other, not I Am Setsuna. It doesn't matter. There was another game like that, but continue.
But yeah, so I played those versions first and was looking to see how it would translate to a commercial project. I was surprised that there was a lot more characterization to it. Like, Nathan had told me about how there were a lot of like mental health related stories in the actual narrative of the game, and I thought that was interesting because the first game, the Celeste Classic for the Pico 8, has like no dialogue whatsoever. Literally, the only text other than, you know, the GUI is just when you reach the memorial and it says, you know, this is Celeste for Mount Celeste for those who have died along the way or something like that. But I ended up I don't know. I really liked the way it integrated it in. Like, it ramped up way faster than I thought it would. Like, by episode 2, it was like getting into some very, it wasn't just jumping up a mountain. There was like stuff that was maybe happening in your character's head. I was trying to figure out what was metaphor and what wasn't real, that sort of thing. And I don't know. I thought that this game did a lot more with a lot more with narrative than what I expected is my initial takeaway compared to the Pico 8 games.
So, as kind of I gave in my intro, I'm going to be kind of like the audience member who doesn't know anything about this game with you guys. So I'll try to chime in with questions that I have throughout, but I'm going to listen to you guys talk mostly because,
no, you're good, brother. We all deserve to be able to do that with a game at some point. So when I don't beat one of your games, haha.
Plus, I honestly did pick this game knowing that I didn't think it would be your shit in particular. Like, this one was basically for me and Nate.
Fair enough.
It happens, brother. Just don't even think about it. But yeah, the way this game kind of starts out is it starts off with a prologue, and then there are what I will call the 7 real chapters of the game. There's the 8th chapter, which is kind of a little add-on at the end of the game, and then 9, which was the DLC. So, and the way the game kind of plays out is it all kind of ramps up as you go along. Like, each stage is harder and adds new mechanics than the previous stage. Like, the prologue is just really simple and introduces you to the concept of your character has a dash and can climb walls, essentially, is that first level. And I think Willie's going to have a lot more to say about the story aspects of the game for this one than I will. I'm more of the mechanics, leaning on that side of it. But, like, the first little prologue is really cute and just a good introduction to the feel of the game, in my opinion. Somebody else has to talk. I'm not doing all the talking.
Well, I mean, story-wise, the weird thing is I've had this kind of collector feeling. I wanted to see all the dialogue as far as the story goes. Like, there's a couple of places later on that it's pick this thing, or, you can walk up and talk to one of the other characters, Theo, wasn't it? And I noticed apparently there is some kind of impact on the end game on whether you actually talk to them and get all the dialogue. Because I'll mention this, I'll get into it later. I hacked my save file, but
yes.
Well, the weird thing is that
for full discovery purposes, I think we should say where we all hit or bounced off the game. I think me and Nate both played some of Chapter 9. Nate got to the end of the content before you we will talk about that. I played a little of Chapter 9 and bounced off the exact moment Nate sent me a specific message about it. I believe, Dane, you finished Chapter 9 with cheats, and Dalton, I think you were somewhere in Chapter 3.
I think so. Maybe Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, right off the bat, like, they're not afraid to kill you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, even within those first few levels. And I like that there's the loading message that says, strawberries are basically just for bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, good. I'm glad to know that. Fuck them strawberries. Like, I got like one or two of them, and then I got the one that I tried like 3 or 4 times and died, and was like, you know what? These aren't necessary. These aren't, I don't need these. I'm not going to get Steam achievements because I got this through itch.io. So, like,
yeah.
Same here.
Not going to
I
bug
think
me.
that's also a strong point of the early game, too, is that I do feel like, especially in the earlier game, it does a good job of letting you know, hey, this shit's optional. You don't need to do it to beat the
This game has like a series of collectibles called the Strawberries, and they're just like hidden throughout the levels. They're either like tucked away in places that you have to kind of explore to reach, or have to do some difficult platforming challenge to get to. And there's a secondary collectible, one in each level too, of these crystal hearts that you need to collect that don't seem to have any purpose. We'll get to that later. And then there's also these tapes called the B-sides that you can find in hidden rooms, and they basically unlock a more difficult version of the stage you had just played.
And then you get the Keyblade, and you can open up the door to Kingdom Hearts.
And man, those B-sides are bad.
I did 2 of them.
I only did like 2 of them. Yeah.
Bastard sides.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
then there's also the C-side tapes that you can get on the B-side levels.
I'm serious. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Holy fuck.
There
I
is a
didn't need to
C-side.
see one of those.
Yeah.
Is that just
You're serious? You're serious?
I'm dead fucking serious. Chapter 9 does not have a B-side or a C-side, but everything else has B and C.
Holy fuck.
And those are like, I'm guessing like hard mode and expert mode, basically.
It is hard mode and go fuck yourself mode.
Yeah, I played a couple of the B-sides, and basically what they do is they really drill into the special mechanics for that level. Like, so the Chapter 2 one, for instance, has a lot of the goopy blocks that we were talking about, the little cosmic jelly blocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And each one of these levels, not even talk about B-sides and stuff, has its own special mechanics or themes for each of them. Like the first level that has these little blocks that when you grab them, they move really fast and you can get an extra high jump off of them. The second level has those goopy blocks. The third level, I think that's the one that introduces the springs as a mechanic where you can bounce off of a spring. I think
That makes sense.
4 brings in these clouds that you can jump off of that you have a little spring effect. It's almost like jumping off of a spring in Super Mario Brothers 1. It's kind of the way that works. Chapter 5 is the Mirror Temple, which introduces a mechanic of like basically these things you jump on and they like send you shooting off until you run into something or dash out of it. Chapter 6, and honestly, this time I played through is really when I started noticing cracks in the gameplay. Because the first time I played through it, I loved all of it and didn't have many issues. But like, I started noticing like some of the mechanics get kind of goofy. Like, especially Chapter 6 is when it really does. It adds this one called the Golden Feather. And so the Golden...
Yeah.
So the Golden Feather basically is just like a very fast move in whatever direction you want to. So it's basically like you're going super fast and you have to control it up, down, left, and right. You can go in any direction. It has a small turn radius, so it's pretty easy to turn, but like the speed is what I really think is the difficulty, and it does run out pretty fast, so you really have to time things and turn pretty tightly.
I feel like it really leans on you having foreknowledge of the level, too. Like, you're never going to beat any Golden Feather level the first time
I agree
you
with
see
that,
it.
too. And then...
And, like, you said the turn radius you thought was kind of small and not a big deal. I actually felt like the turn radius was a huge fucking problem for me.
And then Chapter 7 was the Summit, which is, in my opinion, the true ending of the game. You get credits after you beat this level. I mean, shocker, you and Battleline end up working together at some point throughout the story of the game. And basically, you're doing things with Battleline, and you get a second dash in this level when you and Battleline work together. So you can dash once, and then once more after that. Instead of, like, you usually have to land between every dash, this chapter lets you dash twice in the air without stopping, which is a pretty cool mechanic.
That was a mechanic of the original game, too, the Celeste Classic. So I was, like, really excited to see that they brought it back for this game. And I think it was one of the ones that worked best for the commercial version. Now,
where the game starts to get a little, even more falling apart to me, I thought Chapter 7 was really good. And Chapter 6 was my biggest problem up until Chapter 8 and Chapter 9. So Chapter 8 is kind of like a post-game chapter you can play. You do, if I remember correctly, have to have a certain amount of the Crystal Hearts to enter.
You need four
Crystal Hearts to enter, right? And you can get Crystal Hearts by finding them in the levels or beating a B-side. So I had a few. I don't remember how many I had at the end of the game. I'm sure I have a screenshot I sent to Dane at some point. But this level gets a little bit goofy. Like, it adds mechanics that nothing else in the game had before. Like, I liked the idea of changing between the fire and the ice mechanics. That was kind of the whole story behind that one. Was you were in the core of the mountain now, and you could swap the state of the stage from fire and ice to make the things that happen do different things. But the way the things kind of worked here, it added too much at once, in my opinion. Like, the stages were like bouncing off of these ice blocks, which was a brand new mechanic, while also bouncing off of these other blocks only when it's on fire, though. If it's ice, it just crumbles. But if it's on fire, you get a really high bounce off of it. I get what they were going for, and I can understand it, but it just felt like too much, and I felt like I was more fighting the mechanics than not executing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Level 7 kind of felt like almost like a tutorial for a game that's never happening.
You mean Chapter 8?
Well, no, because Chapter 8 used a completely different set of mechanics.
Then?
Oh, no, I'm in 8, sorry. The core. Yeah. I'm in 8, sorry. I said 7 because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's what I was like, what are you talking about?
No, I meant the core.
I thought 7 was an extremely good ending to that game.
No, 7 was fantastic. Yeah. I actually liked 8, but I did feel that 8, I don't think it explored the mechanics well enough, and I also feel like everything felt really weirdly, like, the previous levels felt like they were position-based, and that one felt way more timing-based, and I didn't like that as much. Like, it felt softer. It felt less tight.
And I also had that extra bastard mechanic of whenever you dash, you don't replenish whenever you land. You have to get a crystal to replenish. That was the from man, this is hard to man, this is bullshit moment for me on.
I can feel that
because everything up until then, like chapters 1 through 7, kind of kept you in that. This is frustrating but doable. 8 was the first time that I started hitting this is kind of getting into bullshit.
Yeah, I feel like if I just count the actual game up to the original ending, I have a different score than if I count the post-game.
Agree with that. And then I have an even different score when I get to Chapter 9. But, so Chapter 9, it starts off okay, right? Like, it adds this whole weird new story element that felt kind of disconnected a lot from the way the rest of the game worked. Like, the story felt really forced and pulled apart from the rest of the story, from what I saw in Chapter 9, at least where I got up to. But other than that, what really threw me off was, like, it threw, like, 17 new mechanics at you in this thing. And no real introduction to it. Like, it was just like, figure this out now, fucker.
Yeah, there was very much tutorial rooms. Like, there's a fish that you have to dash to and figure out what the fuck you do after you dash.
Yeah, but you can call that a tutorial room, but I still died on that first fish room like 30 times.
Oh, no, I died a fucking ton on those rooms. I'm just saying that they were, like, tutorial rooms in the sense you could tell, okay, what I know now will not get me through here. I need to learn something to be this level.
And so, like, and I sat there for hours playing through Chapter 9, right? I was playing through chapter 9, and there were a couple of points I was like, all right, we're at the end of this. This feels like it's starting to wrap up. And it just, nope, it kept going. Yep. So I was like, okay, fine, let's keep going. I'm still having an okay time with this. Like, I'm starting to bang my head against some of these puzzles. Rooms that I'm in now, I'm spending like 20 to 30 minutes each on trying to figure out. It's not even executing. It's trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do to be able to execute. And I'm figuring it all out.
That's where I quit the game, because I couldn't figure one out.
And I know which one. That one's really satisfying to finish, but it was also like, but why? But, like, there's just so many new mechanics introduced in every room, and it was just like, this is ceasing to be a game where I can just play it and figure it out. It's like, instead of having to study these rooms, spend 30 minutes each on, I'm just like, it's starting to feel pointless, but, you know what, I'm going to push through to the end of this, because I'm so close now, I thought. So, I finally keep pushing, get to this room, and it feels like the end. This finally feels like I'm actually at the end of this level. And I'm getting really excited. I'm like, I'm going to see the true end of this game and be done, because I'm getting kind of annoyed with it and I don't want to play it anymore. I get to the middle of this room, and all of a sudden this giant blue ribbon comes down through the center of the room, and it starts filling in hearts, like little crystal hearts. And apparently you have to collect all of them, and I had collected 7 out of the 15. 7 out of the 15. And I was just like, and you couldn't do anything from that point. It just locked you in that room. You could no longer go forward, go backwards, do anything but stare at this ribbon that showed that I had 17 out of the 13 hearts. And that's when I decided I was just fucking done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame you.
And then, in his infinite wisdom, Nate's like, so I've reached a part in this game that's making me mad, but I don't know if I should send it to you. And I'm like, dude, just send it. And he sent me that screenshot. I'm like, yep, you have just given me permission to quit playing.
Yeah, and it's like, I thought about going back and trying to get the rest of the hearts, but I was just like, at this point, though, I would need to use a guide, because there's several levels where I don't know where they are. And fun fact about this game, like, I think the crystal hearts are one of the most bullshit things in this game, because I don't think it's nearly possible for the normal person just to find them all on their own. The one on level 2, I only knew about, and I got it, but I only knew about it because I had seen a YouTube video a few years ago about this crystal heart and how you get it. It's more like exploiting the game rather than figuring out where something is, but there's something that happens, like when you go from screen to screen, it re-ups your dash, so you can go up and down across the screen, and then you need to go from the left to the right, to the left to the right, to the left to the right, past the screen, and there's this hidden cave all the way up at the top of this that there is no indication that this would be there. There's no way that you would know to do this, but if you exploit the mechanic in this game, you can get up there, and that's the only way to get up there. Dane, does that sound like your knowledge of it too?
Yeah, there is no way that anyone will convince me that that was not a case of they discovered a bug and decided to try and make it a feature. But that is the only spot in the entire game that it is relevant.
But here's how would you know that there was something up there to begin with, though? How would you know to go there?
Yeah, because, I mean, when I climb platforms, like, I would climb up, it would go a little bit above the wall, or the top of the camera, and be like, oh, okay, it won't let me climb any further, my character's gonna fall, Madeline's falling, she doesn't want to climb up anyway, there's nothing up there. It would have scrolled up if there was something up there. And you're telling me on some screen, millions of years beyond where you actually see shit, that something suddenly appears up there.
So, like,
that's bullshit,
because there were several places that I tried to climb up on the screens where I was like, hey, that looks like something that I can get to.
Yeah.
That would be difficult. Maybe there's something hidden. And I get up there and start climbing up, and the camera don't follow me. I'm like, well, and after you do that so many times and it fails, you stop looking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd have been so fucking annoyed.
And this is like the one time that you do it and you go up, but unless you figure out this bug and this exploit for the game, you're going to go up there and you're going to think, oh, this is just them showing me that it's a dead end and trying to teach me not to bother to do this shit.
Yeah, so
it's not going to feel like you're on to something, keep going.
And so I think that's what, like, I just really felt like these hearts were not worth looking for. And so, like, I kind of, like, you know, I'm not really going to do this too much. I knew I had to have, like, 3 or 4 or something like that to get through the part in 8. And I guess that should have told me I'd probably need all of them for the end of Chapter 9, but it didn't. for some reason.
But it's also fucking bullshit that they let you play half the level and then tell you need all the hearts.
So it was really irritating, and that's where I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
It's crazy that I'm talking so much shit in this game, too, because I genuinely had a great time with it, about 95%. It's pushing myself past where I should have and trying to rush through the post-game and all that for the show. Like, that really, the grape juice turned to wine and then the wine turned to vinegar.
No, and I think it's fair, because I think that this are really cracks that I didn't see in my first playthrough, because I stopped after chapter 7. I thought, I'm done, I'm good. I wasn't going to go for 100% on this one. For some reason, I thought, this time I play the game, I am going to go for 100% because I've played it before. I'm pretty good at it, and I know I'll be able to do it. But the deeper I got into going down that path, the more I was like, this is clearly not worth it. But
well, the post game is really clearly for someone who has played that main game content, has probably already cleared at least part of the B-sides. They're in it for the hard parts of the gameplay. So I can understand why they would want to make chapters 8 and 9 more difficult. They just kind of crossed that line from, hey, we're challenging the people who are really into this game, into this is bullshit. And it disappoints me because the game has done such a good job pacing itself. Yeah. And it even gives an assist mode for people who aren't that good at it to make sure that they can actually get through to the end. It's like
for all the complaints we have about chapters 8 and 9, like, I really do think that the actual main game progression was really well intelligently designed.
But even then, like, this time I still saw the cracks in it with the golden feather and some of the other mechanics I didn't think were as well executed as I did the first time I played the game. But, yes.
I think they probably land better the first time you hit them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the more you fool with it, it's not that it's half-baked. I just think, I said before that it made me think of Super Meat Boy. I watched Indie Game the movie. I know how hard they slaved over making all of the movements feel just pitch perfect right. I don't think this game had that really fine-tuning to make everything feel as smooth and perfect as it really needs to for some of the kind of precision platforming that you have that happens in this game.
That's strange, because until I got to the added chapters, I really felt the opposite. Like, I really thought that they'd clearly put a lot of time into making every, like, landing perfect within a couple frames and making sure that the player felt like, okay, you definitely know you're doing the right thing, you're just fucking it up a little bit. And then when we got to the extra chapters, it was like, no, now you're not even sure. You don't know what the fuck you're up to.
Which is, all the timings felt really wonky for me. And I don't know if that's just too much of stuff like trying to play it like I was playing Meat Boy instead of playing it on its own terms. I'll admit maybe I wasn't giving it its due as far as that goes. But like getting on the cloud things that bounce up and you can jump at perfect timing and get a boost. Very counterintuitive. It took me forever.
I don't think I ever got it down. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
You have to jump while the thing is rising instead of when it's at its deepest point. Mm. As it's rising, that's when you got to jump.
Yeah.
And
you can catch it late, you can't catch it early.
Well, sometimes it feels like it gives you a little like mulligan window where the thing's not actually moving up anymore, but you can still get that boost. And then sometimes it won't give it to you because fuck you.
Quickly, I just want to jump in because this has been bugging the shit out of me this whole time. I've been doing research. The other game that came out that was on current systems, which I guess would be PS3 and PS4, but also came out for the Mega Drive at the same time, was Pure Solar and the Great Architect. Okay. As an RPG. I'm sorry. That was bugging the dog shit out of me. Continue.
No, I'm glad you actually closed the loop.
But Dane, knowing what you know, because I know you got to see what was past that screen that I saw, just like gameplay wise, how does that feel after that?
So, as I said earlier, after I beat Chapter 8, I was faced with a dilemma because I knew from a spoiler that there was going to be another heart gate halfway through Chapter 9.
That sucks to know that was halfway.
So I asked myself...
Halfway?
Yeah. Well, I think it might actually be technically a little bit over halfway as far as number of screens that you're dealing with, but they get so bullshit long after that like content wise, you were at the middle point of it. So I was asking myself, do I really want to hunt down enough crystal hearts to go through this? So, Celeste has a native Linux app, so I had no compatibility issues playing this on Linux, by the way. So I'm like, I'm feeling cocky. I'm going to see if I can edit this save file. Just on a lark, I go in there and I open it up in the console. And when I open it up, this thing's just a regular XML file. It's a series of tags, like with level numbers, number of strawberries you've collected, hearts you've collected. You can go in there and change your name after the fact. You can change, oddly enough, Theo's sister's name. That is a variable in this thing. So even though there's nothing in playing normal game that would let you change her name, you can go in there and change her name from Alex if you want to. So there's your useless fact for the night. But right at the top of the screen, like the fourth variable, very conspicuously labeled, it says cheat mode. And I said to myself, Self, are you going to do this? To which I responded, after I copy this over. So I duplicated my save file just in case it was a, little Trojan horse. You turn on cheat mode and it goes, haha, sucker, and deletes it. Because that's the sort of shit I would do. I turned it on, and when I loaded up the game, it puts a little flag off to the next to my save file. It says cheat mode. And when you open it up, it turns on the, you still have the normal assist mode that you can turn on and off, and then it has variant mode that you can activate. And variant mode gives you a little menu in the pause menu that has tons of modifications that you can do, including invincibility, infinite dashes, you can slow down or speed up gameplay, you can change your character sprite to always look like Battleline. So tons of different little things you can tweak. So I said, okay, what else does this give me? And cheat mode unlocks all the levels, A-sides and all the B-side levels, all the C-side levels. That's how I found out C-side was a thing. And just let you pick wherever you want to go. So I said, let's do this. So I loaded up all this shit. I didn't turn on any of the weird cheating variants. I just used the fact that all the levels are open. I don't have to worry about the crystal hearts. And I'm playing along pre the heart gate in chapter 9. And I get a few screens into it and I die. And it sends me all the way back to the start of the chapter.
Ooh.
That's when I found out the Achilles heel of cheat mode. It does not save your position. So when you die on a screen, you go back to the beginning of the entire chapter. And that's when I yelled, fuck this bullshit. Turn on all the cheats. And I just infinite dashed. I never touched the fucking ground if I didn't have to, and just burned through the whole damn chapter to see all the dialogue as you're chasing the bird and arguing with Battleline through the level. Once you burst through the heart gate, the very first couple of screens that I went through were so massive that even dashing through the, what I assume was insta-kill hazards across this massive screen, I got lost. I found a floating golden room with a, I'm going to call it a heart monitor, but it was a TV screen with a heart shape that scrolled across it. No explanation, nothing to interact with, it's just there. I got lost in this big ass area before I finally found my way across to get to the next spot. The levels get big, and the entire time you're trying to chase after this bird still. And as you're going through, you're realizing as a character, we don't want the bird to be trapped here with us, in this dream place, because the last chapter is supposed to be in a dream. Near the end, you have these series of levels where the main mechanic is you're working together with Battleline and the bird to traverse the level to turn off these electrical fields to let the bird pass through the next level so you can follow along behind. So you get these really fun platforming sets where you're jumping to the bird's flinging you across, then Battleline's boosting you up, and it's a series of catching this stuff for assist to get helped up, through the end of the level. Those felt fun. If I did not have infinite health and to avoid having to respawn all the way at the beginning of the chapter because I cheated, I'm sure that, these would have been whooping my ass and I'd have been trying them over and over. But then I get to the next bullshit puzzle. You get deadlocked. You go into this level, it has 2 screens. You got one screen where it blocks off the floor because you can't drop down to the platform. You can climb up, and when you climb up, it sends you back down, and you think it's going to drop you down into the doorway that's blocked off on the previous one. But when you drop through, it's just a hidden passage that's one way. So you drop through that hole back into where you started, not onto the progress for the next screen. And it closes up behind you. Now, I got infinite health, I got infinite dashes, but I can't figure out where the hell to go. I had to go online to look this up. You have to follow through that little path and then die so that the game respawns you on the right side of the screen in the path. That's the second moment of exploiting a bullshit glitch in the game to progress, just like the whole dashing across between screens for that second heart. So that was my third fuck this game moment.
Fucking hell.
But right after that, you got a couple more levels in this massive straight vertical climb to go through all this stuff. And I imagine this is like the make it or break it, prove your mettle part, because this is the final stretch of the game. But it's just really too much looking at it. Like, if I couldn't have cheesed my way through it, there's no way that I would have actually been able to roll credits for that final scene for, finding out what actually happens when you get the bird out.
Work.
And I don't know if you care about spoilers, I can give the gist of that. You want that?
I see. Do you want to talk about the revelation of the game?
For the final one, or just for the regular story mode?
Oh, either. It doesn't bother me. Like, I think I'm the only one here that didn't see most of the spoiler stuff, so don't worry about that with me. But it's up to y'all.
I'm probably not doing it anytime soon, so I don't care.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, the whole point of Chapter 9 is it's, sometime after you've climbed Celeste Mountain, and then Chapter 8 is you come back a year later, and the old woman who greets you at the first of it, sends you to the heart of the mountain. Chapter 4 is she has died, and now Madeline calls her Granny, but didn't go to the funeral. So it picks up off at her grave. And then the crow that has given you little tips and tricks early in the game for what button do you press for certain mechanics flies in, then flies off, and Madeline decides, that is a part of Granny the same way Battleline is part of me. So she has in her head, get the bird, I get to see Granny again. And that's why Battleline leaves, so that you're dealing with all of these challenges back with single dash, because she's like, no, you don't need to be going that. And it felt like, if you're looking at it from a story perspective, it does feel like they're backtracking on character progression. Because everything in the first 7 is building up to accepting yourself, to overcoming your demons, and now they're back at odds with one another.
Well, I'll go ahead and say that I think that understanding that backsliding happens is a very important part of the mental health struggle as well. Like, it's not so much about whether you, permanently conquer it as much as, can you get back up the next time? Like, it's not a single mountain you climb, it's a daily thing.
And I can get that, the whole concept of dealing with the loss of a loved one causing some kind of backslide and, the symbolism within that. But I don't know, it just felt like, in a way, they were kind of, at least for me, like they were undercutting what they had accomplished with the story earlier. But but anyway, when you get to the very end, you realize all this is a dream, and she admits to herself that even if she sees Granny again, it's not going to be real, but she wants to see it through the end, because she does believe that bird is part of her, and if she wakes up now, it will be trapped in this weird dreamscape forever. And in the ending, she does get to see Granny again, and, has the touching moment, and then she wakes up from the dream. Talks to Theo, who is moved back to California with his family. And then they find out that Theo's grandpa, who he mentions during the game as, someone he was close to and who taught him a lot and who came to Celeste Mountain when he was younger, was friends with the old lady that they met at the mountain. And that's the big revelation, that Madeline and Theo conquered the mountain the same way that his grandfather and this old lady that Madeline kind of adopted as a grandmother conquered the mountain years before them. So it's kind of that whole full circle sort of thing. But story-wise, it
for what it's worth, by chapter 8, she does start calling her granny.
I must have overlooked it in chapter 8, because I didn't remember it doing that. It felt like it was kind of out of the blue for me.
No, when you first jump into chapter 8, literally she's there and your character is calling her granny.
That does happen.
Okay. Oh, maybe I was just speed reading too quick. I forgot that did happen. So maybe it wasn't as out of the blue as I painted it, but it felt out of the blue for me.
Fair enough. Is there any other...
I mean, it did feel...
I was going to say, is there any other story points y'all wanted to touch on before we kind of move into ratings and stuff?
Man, I had a lot about the story I actually wanted to talk about. I thought that, for one thing, even very early on in the game, after chapter 2, I think is the one that ends with the nightmare scene, that you call your mom on the phone and she's like, are you going through another panic attack? Let's help you breathe through this. It speaks very explicitly about both anxiety and depression. Panic attacks are mentioned by name. At one point, one of the dialogue options for Theo is, so what is it like having depression? And it even actually uses a breathing exercise as a game mechanic at one point, which I thought was really interesting and just a really respectful way to handle this kind of thing in the game without it being overwhelming. In some sense, the mountain is kind of a metaphor for mental health, but also the mental health issues are literally present and being addressed in the actual dialogue of the game.
I remember hearing when this game came out that a lot of my friends that were transitioning and things like that at the time that played video games really this game resonated with them a lot. And having not beat it, I can't speak to that, you know what I mean? And obviously not being someone who's transitioning, I don't know. But I got the vibes going through that this game was very much the mountain. I think you guys have mentioned the mountain completely being metaphorical for just things that you have to conquer and kind of climb that. That's why, in the intro, I was I'm climbing the mountain of self-discovery. It's kind of figuring things out. And it's not an easy climb. You know what I mean? But you got to keep on trucking, even if you slip down a few pegs.
Yeah, that's something else I wanted to bring up, too, is that, so the main developer of the game, Mehdi Thorson, actually developed the Celeste games, well, the first one and then this one, under a previous name, and then over the course of, developing the Farewell DLC especially, started identifying as a woman and using the name Maddie. And I thought that was really interesting, too, because Maddie is a very similar name to, the main character. And at this point, she's even written an article saying, the character is canonically trans. It's just a lot less specific in the dialogue than, the mental health issues. And also, fuck you if you think she should be open with it. I feel weird outing my own character. Which I'm like, that's not really cool. That's really interesting,
I never picked up on that as a subtext in the game, but, that's not something that's in my purview of life experience.
I feel like that's also kind of a big thing, too, is, it probably screams that to trans players of the game, and to cis people like me, it's just okay, here's my little girl, I'm going to take her through the mountain, la-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. If I didn't know that this was supposed to be a subtext of the series, I would not have gone looking for it.
Word.
But the not subtext of it is, the whole conquering the mountain, digging yourself out of a depression. And
it's very explicit about the mental health parts.
Yeah, there's nothing subtle about it. And I can definitely respect having a challenging game to reflect the fact that dealing with stuff like that is a challenging thing to experience. It's a hard thing. I've never really had depression in my life, but many people who I love and care about, I've watched them go through depression. I've watched them go through anxiety.
Yeah.
And from outside looking in, you can tell how hard it is for somebody.
Yeah.
Looking at it.
Yeah.
And reflecting that in the gameplay, it's well executed. And I've heard of people like a YouTuber, Writing on Games. He got started and got really popular talking about Dark Souls because he was in a suicidal depression and playing Dark Souls and having this world that, even though it looks like it wants to kill you, is really just doing its best to, make sure you can beat it. It is, it's a game that wants you to overcome it. And Celeste is kind of like that, like with the assist mode. It's a game that wants you to be able to make it to the end.
That's a really sweet way of saying it. It is a mountain. It wants to be overcome. It wants to teach you how to climb a mountain in the end.
I can get that.
And I don't know, another thing about the personal effects of the mental health thing is I remember when Nate started playing the game for the first time. He played the commercial game long before any of the other of us did. And he said, sometimes when I'm talking to you, I relate to Theo talking to Madeline. And I'm like, damn, that's really sweet. I can't wait to play this game to find out about that character relationship. And I played it and I'm like, wow, yeah, totally can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And it's Theo as a character too is dealing with his own shit. So he's trying to climb it for his own reasons as well. He's just also there being a good friend and somebody that can understand and maybe not completely understand and relate to, but at least is empathetic and can talk through things that he doesn't quite experience himself as well.
Exactly. He's climbing the same mountain, but his climb is different from her climb, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's the best possible way the game could have introduced that, because it's I don't know, I felt like he was a very for me as someone with anxiety and depression, Madeline was obviously my, point of contact. But you meet Theo and you're like, okay, I am someone who loves people with mental health issues. I fucking relate to this guy,
Absolutely.
So we about ready for doing some ratings?
I think so.
Yeah, I think I'm good for it.
I'm not going to rate this one. I'm just going to pull myself out because I feel like I didn't play enough for it. But I will say I approve of the underlying message of the game wholeheartedly. So it gets a thumbs up. I'll give it that. I'll give it a thumbs up.
Thumbs up out of 10.
Yeah.
One thumb in the berry.
What you, Nate?
Yeah, it's like I said, I think I've played this game the most out of all of us at this point. I played it back in... If I would have rated this game the first time I played it after I'd stopped at Chapter 7, it's probably be a 9 for me. But looking at it from the perspective I have now and seeing kind of the cracks that I didn't see the first time and just getting really upset with how they handle some things in the post-game, it really kind of drags it down a little bit for me in an unfortunate way. I still think, like we all said, the story's great. I love the way it handles dealing with these topics and being a sensitive game and all of that. And I found it very relatable, but at the same time, it did do some things that kind of don't know how to jive with this these days. But that being said, I still think it's a really good game and worth anybody's time. Just know it's going to be very difficult if you do decide to play it, and there are some things you might look at like, God, that's bullshit. But I think in the end, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a rare 7 3/4 strawberries out of 10 crystal hearts.
All right. What about you, Will?
I'd like Dane to go next.
What about you, Dane?
So, the studio has an interesting name. The studio that they made for the making the game, they called themselves Extremely OK Games. And I think that really covers it for me. This game is, in fact, extremely okay. It's not bad. I guess I kind of got caught in the hype because so many people love this, expecting, for me, a tighter experience. And, like Nate said, the crack started to show for him on his second time through. But, the sweet and sensitive story for me, while, I appreciate it and I like it for what it is, it wasn't enough for me to overlook some of the flaws in the design for someone who's wanting to get everything. And whenever I'm doing like a hard platformer, that's one of my knee jerks. I want to get everything. I want to do everything. And whenever it feels like some of the things are getting bullshitty, that starts hurting it. Whenever it feels like the controls are wanting you to do more precision than what it feels like it's giving you, that, that's kind of a bullshitty moment for me. And it sounds like I'm shitting all over the game and like I'm going to give it a really bad one, but that first 7 chapters, if you stop right there, if you stop there, it's a 8 game. But looking at it on the whole, I think I'm going to have to say it is a 7 hearts out of 10 bullshit buggy jumps.
So I wanted to make sure that those two both went first because I didn't want to prejudice theirs with my score. Because I feel like if I give a score to a game, there's a little bit of pressure involved there. And I wanted to say, I do think ultimately that both the tight gameplay and the tight gameplay and the stages that actually do have the tight gameplay, because there are some that are just not so good. But when it's good, god damn, the puzzles are geniusly designed and you feel so smart finishing them. And the writing of the game, you gave me like 4 or 5 characters and I ended up feeling like a huge relationship to all of them. Even the character that's just supposed to be the part of you that's scared that you might not succeed. And that's like literally the entirety of that character. And ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and give this game 9.5 double jumps out of 10 triple jumps.
And I think it's perfectly fair that we all have kind of different scores on it, because like I think there's whatever the most important part of the game to you is kind of what and how much experience you have with it too. It's like I think all the scores are very fair.
Yeah, no, I don't argue with either of your points at all. I just think that the things that are more meaningful to me were different than the things that meant, that much to you, this gameplay. Yeah. And, like, I feel like we still at least had a lot of fun through most of the game, even if we all did hit on some bullshit towards the end, and we were just trying to figure out how much to wait.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit. The waiting of it is the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that going for the ultimate challenge levels of 8 and 9 in the post-game content,
it doesn't feel worth it to me.
What really hurt it for me, because that's the developer saying, this is what we think the game is at its most challenging. And while it is very, very challenging, I think they lost the fun.
I'm really glad, speaking of that, I'm glad that they made Celeste 2 in a 3-week game jam session, so they only had enough time to figure out how the mechanics like interacted in that level instead of making some impossible bullshit.
Fair enough.
So if you haven't played Celeste 2, it's I think it's called Lonnie's Quest or something, and it's you have like a grappling that you can use to just jump to the platform, and that's it. You have that. You do not have the dash jump in that game at all. You're a new character entirely. She can use the grappling gun, and that's basically it. So you have wall jumps, you have grappling hooks, and you freeze in the air a little bit when you shoot the grappling hook, so you can use it to catch a platform. But it's, again, very similar precision platforming. Nice. And unlike Celeste 1, it doesn't have a power-up halfway through the game, so you literally do have to learn it.
And now, motherfucker, you got to check out Celeste 64.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. I didn't realize that was a thing, so...
I'm just over here dropping knowledge.
Yeah, you dropped a big old berry bomb on me.
I remember.
I knew it was a thing, and I'd completely forgot it until Dalton mentioned it.
You hipster.
So what do you guys think? You want to move on to some questions now? Yeah. All right, let's hit up some of these fan questions. Our first one comes in from Jeremy, who asks, do you believe in Joe Hendry? I have no idea who that is, so no.
Would you like me to explain this?
I don't need context. I'm just saying no.
That's fair. Well, at least for the listener, Joe Hendry is a wrestler currently wrestling in TNA, and his whole gimmick is like music and stuff. And he put out this song called I Believe in Joe Hendry. And I don't know what it is about it. It's really catchy. And it hit like number 4 on the iTunes chart here. I think it hit number 2 or number 1 in England on the iTunes charts. Like, it just blew the fuck up. And he is now like way more popular because of this song. And I believe in Joe Hendry, or however the fuck it goes. So I think Jeremy's referencing that. Is do you believe in
I
Joe
would
Hendry?
imagine so. Yeah, that's funny.
I'd be willing to check it out. You know,
The dude's got a
I feel like
punchable
I
face.
provisionally believe in Joe Hendry, but I'll have to put him through the paces to determine.
I'm gonna guess he's a heel too because he's got a very punchable face, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it sounds very heely.
Oh,
But you know, I do love a good heel, so...
Yeah, me too.
right. Next. Okay.
I'll believe in
Nice.
them. I'll go with it.
Our next one comes in from Kana. It's one of those image ones, 1995, and game and movie night. So it's 1995. Pick a game and movie. I don't know if that image came through correctly, but I will read you because I think it's a WebP or whatever, worst image format ever. But the games,
Yeah, really.
the games are Earthworm Jim 2, Mega Man 7, Road Rash, Sega Sports Daytona USA, Chrono Trigger, Yoshi's Island, Myst, Comics Zone, Tekken, Killer Instinct, Mega Man X2, Donkey Kong Country 2, Earthbound, and Command and Conquer. Where the movies are Toy Story, Species, Jumanji, Batman Forever, 7, Waterworld, Mortal Kombat, 12 Monkeys, Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, and Village of the Damned.
So are we going with realistically what we probably
I think
would
you-
have been? Or are we going through with...
I think you
what
can
we
go
would
with it either way, whichever one speaks to your heart. For me, I can just put myself back into 1995 and can tell you exactly which ones would have been the ones that would have happened at that point. It was definitely Batman Forever. Like, it was 1000% Batman Forever. Now, the other one, I have to assume it's going to have to be one that I honestly wouldn't even like anymore, that I think is actually kind of a shitty video game series, but looking at the games from this time period, probably would have been Earthworm Jim 2.
Yeah, you know, Earthworm Jim 2 definitely...
I
did
do
have
think
its
Earthworm Jim
moments.
sucks as an adult, but back then,
I think Doug 10 to Pell sucks. I don't think Earthworm Jim necessarily sucks.
I can't speak to the Super Nintendo version. I liked the Earthworm Jim 2 that I had on a Game Boy Advance. I
We
don't
also...
think
Yeah, we both had the Genesis version, I think. Or we
Yeah.
rented it. We didn't own it, I think.
I think realistically I would have been on Earthworm Jim too. But
Yeah, no, it's like I'm trying to pretend like I'd be Chrono Trigger, but I didn't play Chrono Trigger until it came out on the PlayStation.
so. I was a PlayStation boy, so there's really only like one choice on here for me, right? And I owned it.
The Iron Fist.
Yes, sir. The King of the Iron Fist tournament, the Tekken. But in '95, I was 3. So I'm going to put myself into like my 97, 98 shoes, and it would have been Tekken. The movie's
it's
hard.
got to be Toy Story or
There are
Jumanji,
3.
right?
Yeah.
I never really watched Jumanji. So if I'm going back then, it probably would have been Toy Story or Ace Ventura, to be honest with you. But hard choice for me now between Toy Story, Ace Ventura, Mortal Kombat. That is like, that would be like, I'm set for the night if I could just watch those 3 movies. That'd be fucking sweet. What a good night that would be. I need to do that.
Yeah, let me just come over to your house. Let's get some 2 liters of Diet Coke and some
Fuck yeah.
popcorn and just hell yeah, dude.
Fuck yeah, come on down.
I'm down. I'm down to clown till I'm dead in the ground.
Like Charlie Brown.
Like Charlie Brown.
yeah, I think realistically I would probably be Earthworm Jim 2
Nice.
and Jumanji. But me looking back through which ones I would want to now, I'd probably go with Myst because I just fell in love with that series when I got a little bit older. And probably 7 just for the what's in the box memeing.
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
I didn't realize you were Canadian, Dane. Jumanji?
Yeah, Jumanji.
It's like Nirvana?
Yeah.
Nirvana.
Super Mario.
Super Mario.
God, I hate that
Mario.
so much. If it was me today picking
Cream cheese
what I
bagel.
would do, it'd probably be Donkey Kong Country 2 because I think that's one of the best video games ever made, and probably Toy Story out of those.
I'm over here just thinking like 1995 wasn't as good as I thought because like 1994 I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna do Doom and Terminator 2.
Oh God, dude, yeah.
Easy every time. This one is kind of there's a lot of mid shit that was considered
95 was
really
mid.
good. Obviously, Chrono Trigger was fucking awesome, but I didn't know it until later. So I want to say, if you ask my young kid self, I was super hyped about Comic Zone. I loved the graphic styling of that game, and yeah, I gotta say, I got my giggles at Ace Ventura.
And me now, I would just go straight violence. I want Tekken.
There you go.
Yeah,
Beat
that's
people
a
up
good
while I
choice.
watch people get beat up. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to this next one that comes in from some jackass named Dane. If you could demand
like a
any
dick.
random game genre be given...
How do you know what a
If you
dick
could
sounds
demand
like?
any random game genre be given a horror twist, what would it be? Note, Gone Golfing, the first-person horror golfing game, already exists. You're welcome.
I think I bought that the other day because of you.
Well, that sounds like really nice, actually. I would absolutely fuck up a golf.
I think I feel like
horror game.
almost every genre has been given a horror twist at this point.
Yeah, it would be
I
like
didn't know that.
dating sim, fishing game.
I actually played a horror twist platformer that was really fun. Aversion.
Oh, Version is fucking dope, dude. I keep wanting to put that on this show, and I don't know how to actually get it on here. I love Eversion. That game is awesome.
There's a really easy way to get it on here.
Yeah, well, I picked this game, so it's 2 months until I get to pick another one, fucker.
Oh man.
Nah, but definitely, Eversion is dope. I swear, I think I've referenced it on horror games we've done before. It's really fun.
I've only ever seen this in a Pokemon ROM hack called Snakewood, a horror themed monster
That would
catcher.
be good.
I think would be
Actually,
interesting.
yeah, that could fuck. I should make that.
You should. I'll voice act it and let's make some money though.
A horror themed... Don't ask
quite
me how this
possible.
works, but a horror themed Madden. Yeah,
Mutant League
I just
Football?
want to see what would happen. I don't have the creativity to come up with what that would be, but I would like to see what that is.
I could fuck with that. I could fuck with that because you got Blood Bowl, which is like Warhammer football. But if you could take that
Yeah.
and make it less tactical, because that is just Blood Bowl's weird because it's like football, but it's a tactical RPG game. Like it, I don't know how to explain it. But if you took like that,
Rolling dice and taking names.
the gruesomeness of that game because it is gory, but make that horror and make it football. Like maybe you're playing. I'll make it like a Squid Game type thing. Right? Or your teams are playing, and if they lose, they
It's
get
called
fucking killed.
Splatoon.
Splatoon. There you go.
Squid Game.
Splatoon
I'm sorry,
6.
That joke sucked.
Anyway, I could fuck with it.
Yeah.
Nate.
You got any other bright ideas?
I'm still revolving around how would you do a horror, mate? I bet you could probably do a horror FIFA game, but instead of the actual soccer portion, it's the horrible working conditions for the people who have to build those single-use stadiums.
Damn, depressing.
You could do a game about like savage tribes back in the day and make it really gory and horrific. But then there's a soccer mini game where you play with the head of the chief of the tribe that you slaughter, and there's your soccer in a horror game. Yeah,
I don't play video
got
games.
it
Next
dark.
question.
All right.
For some reason, there was a Sega game, Foot Brawl or something like that, where when you tackle somebody, you leave them in a bloody heap on the floor.
I swear, I think you're thinking
Either
of
y'all
Mutant League
remember that
Football. Is it not Mutant League Football?
I think so.
Hold on.
Well, right. Dane looks that up. I'll go ahead and get us started on the next one.
Yeah, Pigskin
Okay.
Foot Brawl. That was it.
Oh, Pigskin Football. Okay, I'm not as familiar with that. I'll have to check that out later. I do not know the game at all.
We'll get started on the next question. This one's from Fenris. What is something you started doing when you were younger and just out of habit continue to do to this day? For me, it's open automatic doors with the Force.
Brush my teeth.
Fair. I mean,
I don't brush
yeah, but
my
you,
teeth.
you are from North Carolina, so.
Yeah, it's called brushing your tooth. That's why they called it toothbrush, because it was invented in North Carolina. It'd be called a teeth brush if it was invented elsewhere.
Says the guys living in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida.
I have more than one left. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Let's see. When I'm at home, I take my shirt off. When I poop.
Oh, that's fun. I love that.
I don't know why. I've always had.
Do you
this
put
weird-
it back on before you leave, or?
Yeah. Yeah, like I'll take it off and I'll hang it next to the towel on the towel thing in front of my toilet that hangs there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, because I have this like, and it's never ever happened to me, but I've always had a fear of getting some shit on the back of my shirt and not knowing it's there. And then that'd be real embarrassing.
Well, I mean, it is important that you must know that diarrhea is hereditary.
It runs in your genes. Burp, burp, burp.
Yes!
So that's just something that I do. But it's only when I'm at home. Obviously, I don't do that in public. That'd be weird. I don't want to be the dude sitting in the stall and somebody like
At
preaches a
Walmart.
crack at Walmart, and I'm just sitting there, no shirt on. Quick fun.
Come
thing.
on in, I'm shitting.
There was a day that I walked into Walmart, and I walked
That
into the
face he
bathroom,
just made was vile. I can't wait to see where this is going.
and there was just like an old man standing at the urinal, and I don't know if his pants had fallen down or if he dropped full trowel like Butters from South Park to piss in the toilet. But he was standing there, shirt slightly lifted, pants around his ankles, bare ass, just pissing in the urinal. And I just walked on by and went into the stall. I was just like, you know what? Florida.
Feels good, man.
When you don't want to get your dick hung in the zipper, you just get it away from it.
So what's anybody else's habits that they formed as a child?
I guess me.
There's this weird damn thing.
No, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, you want to go ahead? All right. There was this weird thing I would do driving down the road. When I was a kid, I'd sit in the back seat, and I would just imagine for some reason that there was, what if they had a laser that would run down on one side of the white line that would just cut through and burn the tops of the grass that was perfectly even, but it was always going to be like, say, 3 feet away from the road. And I would just go, as we would drive through, I'd like, okay, so it would go up over this and do that, and that mailbox is fucked. I don't know why, but still, whenever I'm on a long stretch and there's no one talking to me, I will find my eye drifting over that white line and imagine, what if that laser was cut through all this shit?
I'm with you. I literally had childlike fantasias about like what I see at the window, and what I would do was like just always imagine things going on with the raindrops that would coalesce on the window, and every time I would just like make up these little stories about, oh, this one split in two, and then this one picked up another one. It was ridiculous. It never made any sense.
I saw a meme the other day that reminds me of that, and it's something that I used to do, and it was like, kids these days in the car have their phones and tablets. They don't know anything about picking their favorite raindrop and hoping it wins the race.
Yes! Fuck yeah! That's exactly the kind of shit I'm talking about. Or like you would see yes, you wanted to go to the bottom, or you would like try to view it against the backdrop of the world, and then you'd be like, okay, now it's running over. It's like Sonic the Hedgehog,
Yeah. So something just random and weird that I used to do in a car, and I guess it's because I used to watch Jurassic Park all the time, was I would imagine looking out the back window what it would be like for a T-Rex to be chasing us. And it's like, it would come through those trees, it would tear that down. I don't necessarily do that anymore, but I might now that I'm thinking about it. It's unlocked a core memory.
Oh yeah, that was a fantastic question. You really brought some shit out from our hearts.
So what about you, Nate?
I guess mine is just whenever I see an animal that doesn't immediately run away, I get into this really wild animal, not like a dog or a cat, but like a lizard or something. I always go into this super high pitch, which is like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?"
It is very rare that when I talk to Lilith directly that I talk to her in my normal voice. Like, if I talk to her in my normal voice, she's in trouble. Because normally I'm just like, oh, hey, baby girl. Oh, how are you? Oh, that's my baby.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to do two more because it's getting kind of late and I'm getting kind of tired. So this next question comes in from...
You're doing great, Nate.
From Dane. Just complete the following. Like my lovers, like I like my video games. Blank. All right.
Easy.
I'll start us off, and I'll let you. We'll just go around there. Like my lovers, like I like my video games, with blast processing. All right, Dalton, what's yours?
I like my lovers like I like my video games. Interesting, yet relatively easy.
Hey, Willie.
I like my lovers like I like my video games, made in the previous century.
Good answer. Yeah, that's a good answer.
Good answer. Good answer.
Very good Family Feud. I love that.
And Dane, give us yours.
I like my lovers like I like my video games. Wrapped in plastic and in a storage unit awaiting selling to the highest bidder.
Oh, that's the old. I like my livers like I like my coffee, smuggled over the border from Colombia.
I mean,
Ground up and in the freezer.
I can
Yikes!
I can imagine you can charge more for the ones that just came out too.
Oh. Anyway, next question, which isn't going to give us much better
That
answers.
is
This last one
terrible.
for this week comes in from Dalton, which is a fuck, marry, kill / go into business with. And it is with the Yakuza, the Mafia, the Cartel, or the Triad.
I had to add in going to business with because I felt like if any of the members of any of these ever listened and they felt like they weren't included, I just didn't want that smoke. So they're all included.
So by triad we mean like specifically like Chinese mafias. By Yakuza we mean Japanese mafias. But what do you mean by cartel? Are we talking like Latin American, like MS-13 type things? Okay.
Just like
And then mafia is like the Italian American or Italian one.
Yeah, what you would know. Yeah, mafia is what we have here. Cartel is what we know of. Like what's his name? There was a whole show about him. That guy.
Escobar?
Yeah, Escobar. Like that style. So Mexican mafia.
So I'll go ahead and start us off. I'm going to fuck.
He just fucking giggled and lost his shit. I'm gonna fuck, and then he just died. He fell over forward.
That's full stop. He's gonna
Be careful. There's going to be a whole group of criminals like, Nate wants to fuck.
We're gonna go with the Triad for that, just because I feel like it'll be nice.
Oh,
we're gonna marry.
Get a lot of Sleeping Dogs action. Also, we should really play Sleeping
We're gonna
Dogs
marry
for
the
sure.
Yakuza because if it's anything like the video games, I'm gonna have a good time for the rest of my life. We're going to kill the Cartel. Please don't tell them I said that because I'm very scared of them. And we're gonna go into business with the Mafia because I speak the language and I can do it a good accent though.
I speak the language too.
Pasta ravioli.
I speak the language. Spracazi ravioli.
All right.
Gabagool.
Oh, you're
No,
fucking
that-
toast, dude. Fucking Linguini Mafioso is gonna just delete you, ass.
Linguini Mafioso. That's Mario's brother, right?
All right.
Yeah.
What about you?
All right.
We get fucked up by the Shad and Easy family.
I'm gonna marry the Yakuza because I feel like I know them the best. Ooh, yeah, because I don't want to be on that show married to mom. I am going to fuck the Mafia, though. I'm gonna, I can get in there and give it the old what's her face? Oh God, what was her name? Not Soprano's wife, but Christopher's girlfriend. Christopher. Whatever, the hot one, her. I'm gonna go into
Big pussy.
business. I'm gonna go into business with the Triad because, there's money in China to be made. So I hear. And then I'm gonna do what Nate said.
I like you are too big. Wow. Really good.
Well, that was supposed to be the joke. Yeah, I killed the Cartel. They cut off people's heads and
that's
stuff. They're
scary.
weird. Yeah. I don't want to fuck with them. What about you, Willie? You call me out.
Oh,
Let me hear you.
what do I want? First off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna marry into La Cosa Nostra because I feel like I have a genuine closeness to that kind of culture that I could figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do to not get killed, which the other three I'm not certain about. So I'll just be someone's boy toy in La Cosa Nostra in the Mafia, and we'll work it out. I still gotta fuck the Yakuza though, just because. Have you seen Majima? I mean, come on.
Actually, you said seen Majima. I have to throw this in here. There's a show, that Shogun show, that's apparently really popular right now. Jeremy sent me a screen grab of one of the actors, and he goes, "Dude, tell me this guy's not the perfect dude to play Majima." And I'll have to send that to you and show it because dude looks like a spitting. I'm like, oh yeah, give that fucker an eye patch all day. Anyway, continue.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That sounds fucking awesome. So let's see. I think I'm gonna go with it's fuck Mary.
Go into
Kill,
business.
And what was the other one? Go into business, dude. I mean, while I don't approve of what they're doing, the cartel is making money in my backyard. You know what I'm saying? Get that shit paid off, and then sorry, Triad, you just were the last ones that getting picked for baseball today.
And Dane.
The thing is, I come from a long line of bootleggers and moonshiners, so I guess sticking with the family business does make sense. So I guess I would go into business with the mafia because, that's what they had in their back pocket during Prohibition.
Al Capone shit, let's go.
Capone.
I don't really have any strong knowledge or feelings with the Triad beyond they play a part in an area of the Deadlands RPG that I've never really messed with, so I'm going to go with Kill the Triad. And then I guess I want to fuck Yakuza because you guys make it sound fun, but, I'm just dipping my toe in. And I'll marry the cartel because I bet they got some banging fucking tequila.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
All right, Dalton, you want to send us home, wrap us up?
Yeah, we go into the whole house cleaning and then hop up on out of here. Let me pull my tab back up. Where did it get? There it is. All right. You think I know it by heart by now. If you would be so kind as to leave us a review over on iTunes, give us a 5-star review, and over on Spotify, give us a thumbs up. And I believe that it uploads a question every episode now where it's like, what did you think of this episode? Go ahead and answer that. That'd be sweet. It would do a good thing for us in the algorithm, or as they call it on Triple Jump, which I love, Al Gore's rhythms. Cracks me up every time they say it. So shout out to Triple Jump. They don't need our shout out though, but yeah. If you want to check out the website, which is kept up to date by some dickhead named Dane.
Yeah, it's fucking son.
bit.ly/the Steam Machine podcast, all capital, or not all capital. Oh, I'm getting them backwards. That is the Steam Machine podcast capitalized phonetically. If you'd like to join the Discord, it's bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. That'll get you in, and you can join in all the fun activities, talking, the conversations. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, and you can vote on the polls, which, speaking of, because of the way I'm doing rolling polls now, I get to make a new one after we're done here. And I am so excited. So, the polls right now, I'm going to go back to the front in order of importance. So, we got the retro game poll that is up right now. Winning with 5 votes is Oregon Trail for the Apple II, which I hope you don't mind if I can't figure out a way to run that if I do the DOS version.
I'll set you up. Also, I just saw your dog jump off your bed.
Oh, she hopped down to her bed.
Oh, okay.
She's just chilling. But
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, because if she was causing a ruckus and I didn't know it, I need somebody to let me know. So then the short poll right now, ooh, man, close between Quiver Dick's terrible tale for terrible parents to read to their equally terrible children, which all of the funny in that game is in the name.
Thank you.
I've played some of that game, and don't get me wrong, I giggle when I'm playing it, but it's very edgy, quote unquote edgy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, but winning right now with 8-7 votes is Arcana Heart 3 Love Max, which is a waifu fighting game, and I'm here for it. It's actually not bad. It's not a bad fighting game. And then the most important poll, the fan-picked poll, the next game what we are playing is Monster Hunter World, right? And we'll loop back around on that at the end of the plugs, but which means that the last winner of the poll was Mass Effect, so that'll pop up into the next and then the winner, and then that brings in a tie. So I'm going to bring it down to you boys. The tie is between Disco Elysium, the final cut, or Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
Shit,
Those are
that's
both
really
really
hard,
cool
but
games.
actually,
Like, I've heard a lot about both of those. I'm going to go ahead and just spit out the one I'm thinking of immediately, and that's Turnip Boy.
fuck, I was immediately going to go
Dalton,
for Disco
break
Elysium.
the top, Eddie.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I'm really interested in playing Disco Elysium, but I have played Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion before, and I really want to see how you guys react to that game.
Yeah, let's fucking go. There wasn't a wrong answer to this one, dude.
So I'm going to throw a vote on that so I remember afterwards that that's what we want. So Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion will come up after. It'll come up eventually. The way I got this rolling just to keep it going, it works in my head.
Nah, I'm super stoked to play either game. Like, Disco Elysium is one I've been wanting to get around to for a long time, much like Celeste right now. It'll still be there in a few months. I'm very happy to play Turnip Boy.
And Disco Elysium is one of those games that's weird because it's a CRPG, but I think that there's no combat.
Yeah, it's mainly known for the writing, honestly.
Yeah. So that's
the writing and the cool art style. Like, really sick art style.
So if you want to come and join in on these polls and vote to make your voice matter, because it literally does, and then see what the next poll is going to be before we talk about it on the next episode, bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. If you would like to donate to the Patreon, which right now would really, really help your boy, and I appreciate everybody who does donate. It is patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. And that's just all lowercase. You can just, do it like that. It'll bring you to $1 or more a month gets you access to the episodes early, ad-free, with our Patreon-only banter in the beginning of the episodes for the people who pay. And if you donate $10 or more, you get your name read on each and every episode. Like these wonderful people. Nate Sir Cogsworth, the 7th of June-iper, Jeff, the original Expendable, Mr. Syllables, old Jeffy, Lube, Ariesoradam, shout out to his blog podcast, RIP his podcast, actually, Revival and Extinction. He hangs out in the Discord. He is the one who brought Backlog Golf to us, so shout out to him and his Backlog Golf. Team Retrogue, go check him out on YouTube. Check out his new podcast with Nefarious, We Played a Game. Mr. Puzzles Dane himself. Thank you, sir. Chad the Mad Lad. No. Goddamn. Seeing his last name, Shaffer. And Flyin Brian Doran Gray. You guys rock. Also, shout out the Abs Pod. Go check out the archives. It'll come back eventually, I'm sure. Shout out to the JRPG Report. Really need to get a new episode of that out. That is my bad. I have been going through some shit. Merch link, tsmpproductions.threadless.com. Go pick up a shirt. Be cool like Kana. If you like the music for the show, you want to hear more music like that, nilethenightmare.bandcamp.com. And again, please just leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would mean the world. Does anybody else have anything they would like to plug?
Just fry bacon in the nude.
That
valid.
Good.
Check out some Pico 8 games. Pico 8's a fun system.
Yeah, reading about it, I'm going to be looking into it because I like weird shit like that.
If you need the current files, just message me.
And I want to end on this then. When I was in St. Augustine, we went into a store. It's a magnet shop, right? They got all kinds of magnets. So I bought a few magnets. I got me a D&D magnet. I got my dad a Pink Floyd and Beatles magnet. But I don't know, man. I don't want
to ask a scientist.
Those motherfuckers are lying.
Fucking clown.
And they get
getting me pissed, frankly.
But as I'm checking out, I look to my left and they have like a wall of little like shirts and stuff. And I see 2 shirts that jump out to me. Shark Vader. And there's a shirt right next to it with 3 sharks in a like yellow shirt, a red shirt, and then like I think a purple shirt. And it says Shark Trek. Swim long and prosper.
Aww.
And I was like, I pointed at it and I said, that shirt, that Shark Trek, that is fantastic. And the girl behind the counter is sitting next to this big burly dude with a beard. She goes, oh, he designed that. And I looked at him and he's like, yeah. He goes, I felt like, I needed to balance the nerdism. She's like, yeah, Shark Vader had been in here for a while and he said he needed to balance.
Oh, he did Shark Vader too?
Yeah. And I was like, man. So now I'm like, I should have bought one of those shirts. Like I should have walked over there and be like, oh, dude. Also, so next time I go to St. Augustine, I'm going to get me a Shark Trek shirt if there's one in my size.
Yeah, that artist sounds fucking dope as hell, dude.
He was super chill.
And since we're talking about sharks, just let me say one more thing. Shark Week is going to be back this year on July 7th. And our host
Is it?
for Shark Week this year, you can't see him, it's John Cena.
No fucking shit!
Hell yeah, dude.
That is, of all the WWE wrestlers, the one that has the second best record against sharks. Although Mr. Brock Lesnar did once F5 a shark.
I just want to see John Cena wearing a shark fin on his back at some point.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, Nate. Thank you for bringing that up.
Or in a
Deepest,
shark onesie.
bluest, my hat is like a shark's fin.
Oh, man.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for Monster Hunter World. Thank you so much for joining in.
Take it easy.